that broadcast correspondence school that I went to. Oh, well, we're getting right into it tonight, guys, because I didn't set the intro because I'm like a rookie or something. So we're live. Mike's eating.
Yep. Excellent.
We are.
Let me just set this up. But it's been that kind of a day. Here, I'll just.
Good Lord, it's been that kind of a day.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here watching my screen going, where's the intro? And then it says, you're live. And I'm looking over and I'm like, oh, I didn't set the intro. Well,
Hey, talk about broadcast school.
Well, this is the quality education you get when you go to the Broadcast Correspondence School of America.
Yes. Well,
The
you know what?
BCSA.
Yeah. Well, what do they know anyway?
I
it's
only
true.
can say I went to 5th grade broadcast school. I did the morning news for my 5th grade school year. That was all I did.
Ooh.
Oh, and I did the weather. I'm the weather girl.
Well,
Nice.
All right, then.
Yep.
You know what? I didn't know. We had superstars among us.
Yeah, and I think it's great you guys got to do that. My schools had no intercom system,
Oh, wow.
and my high school had no bells, and they were proud about it. They had clocks. All the clocks were synchronized in the hallways and stuff, and you were expected to follow the clock.
And there was dinosaurs roaming around too.
And I was broadcasted on
there
TV.
was. What's your point?
We ate dirt because there was nothing else to eat, and that's the way it was, and we liked it.
We liked it. All right.
Well, good
Now
evening.
that
Welcome
we've-
to Sidebar, everybody.
Yes, now that we've BS'd for a while. This is how Sidebar goes. If you haven't been here before, we just
Yes.
we have a topic and we end up talking about whatever the hell we want. That's pretty much.
The topic
That's the
is
format
just a
of the show.
suggestion.
We had the topic, and it goes like that.
Within moments. Yep. But let's give it that old college try.
Oh,
because
sure.
Wahoo's here and Charles is here and Grandma's here. And I'm sure there's some other people that just haven't announced themselves yet. So
Yes.
the other day we saw this case in Judge Elmore's court. And I think I posted it as a separate video this morning.
Yes, you
I
did.
think I did. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
That's how I saw it.
So the 50,000 foot view of the case is this. We have a defendant who's being sentenced, and he's being sentenced for possession on a trafficking kind of level of cocaine. I think I worked it out in, 6,100 doses that he was holding? I think it was
Yeah.
6,100.
Well, that was 60
Yeah.
or 1,600. One of
It
those.
was
I don't know.
Or
$16,000.
it was 1,600 maybe. I don't know. It was a lot. It was enough to kill him several times over.
Yeah.
He claimed that he had the cocaine because he's dying of leukemia, so that was his way of medicating. Am I getting it pretty much right?
That is
Yes.
That's
his
the
argument,
50,000
yes.
foot view. There's other intricacies, but that was the basics of it. So Judge Elmore still slapped him with a multi-year prison sentence, and if he really is dying of leukemia, he will most likely die in prison.
Yep.
So that begs the question, should a judge be merciful in such situations? Should they follow the guidelines? Should there be guidelines on when they follow the guidelines, for lack of a better way to put it? You know, where do we go with this? And we thought that'd make for a good discussion. But I have something to start us out with. I pulled data from several states, and we can get into the other states in a while. And the data revolves around what judges are allowed and not allowed to do when it comes to following sentencing guidelines. But specifically, I wanted to go to Michigan first because that's where Elmore's from, and I think it can frame the discussion. In 2015, the Michigan Supreme Court ruled on a case, People v. Lockridge, and that case made the previously mandatory guidelines advisory only. So that implies, based on that Supreme Court case, that the judge does not have to follow the guidelines. In other words, we calculate it, we consider it, but the judge has broader discretion.
Your audio there, Dan, I think has gone weird again. It's done that choppy thing.
Neat. Okay, hold on.
I did that in the pre-show, and
Yes.
it's that kind of day, everybody.
Do we like it better now?
There it is. It's
Yes.
good now.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me know if it fails again. Heaven only knows why. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've hung around TCF at all today, it's been that kind of a day. And not just here at TCF, but kind of everywhere. There are ghosts in the machine here on the 13th of January.
Yes.
Did you catch what I was saying?
Yes.
Or do I have to
Yes.
reset? Okay.
No.
All right. So if he has the ability to deviate from the guidelines, should he have? Ashley, what are your thoughts?
At first, when I was hearing the case, I thought the judge was being way too harsh with the dude and was going. Because he only had like 4 months to live, right? And things like that.
That's what he said.
But after hearing the prosecution side, in this specific case, prosecution said he was in remission. And the defendant refused further treatment, something like that. Something about him not accepting help for the problem. I don't know. My opinion went the other direction during it, just because it just didn't make sense. If it's in remission and everything, why would he still be taking?
No, it was no longer in remission. It
No.
went into remission, and then it came back.
Okay, gotcha.
So remission to just mission.
Yes.
Okay.
You know,
All right, I'm with you now.
Or unremission.
Well, anyways, I don't know. I feel like I don't want to sound like one of those people. But is the illness really something that you should consider during this? Because a crime was committed. He shouldn't have been driving in the first place. And I feel like it's kind of just an excuse to get out of trouble, because he shouldn't have been driving. His license was suspended, so he shouldn't have even been on the road. And if he wasn't on the road, he wouldn't have gotten caught. So I don't know. I feel like in this type of situation, I think you should stick to the sentencing guidelines. I know it sounds harsh, especially if someone has 4 months left to live, but a judge has to uphold the law. I don't think they can really deviate that much from the sentencing guidelines, and that's just my opinion. That's what I think.
yep.
Yeah. I was confused too. You know, he said he was driving on a suspended license,
Yes.
and you know, we joked that he got the 1,600 doses or however many it was from you know, Big Joe around the street, and you know, his drug business is like a Costco, so you buy in bulk, but you know, unless that was the case, and you know, and I made the case that if it really was this is all personal use kind of thing because I've got cancer,
Yeah.
I made the case of, well, then if you're driving around with that much, then you must have just picked it up if that's the case. So, you know,
Right.
point the finger over at Big Joe, but he never did that. And it begs the question, was this like take your drugs for a ride day?
Right.
And we just missed it? I mean, if he's driving around with that much, regardless of his illness, he had to have been trafficking it because there's no other reason for him to do that.
It was $16,000 is the street value of the drugs. Would I be carrying $16,000 in my vehicle with me? Probably not. That is also a reason why my opinion kind of shifted during the thing too, because if, like you said, Dan, if he didn't just pick it up, I mean, why is he buying that much at one time in the first place? I'm not sure.
Well, I don't know that he
yeah.
was, because he also said he was having trouble paying his medical bills. That was part of this. So if he's having trouble paying his medical bills, he ain't got 16 grand lying around the crib to go buy some coke.
Correct.
Right.
So I'm just saying.
I don't know. It's kind of like a guessing game because you really don't know, right? You don't know if he's using it for personal use or he's selling it. I want
There's
to
no
say
doubt
with-
he's using some of it for his personal
Some of it.
use.
Yes, some of it he's using it for his personal use, but if he's selling it, yeah, that would be an issue.
That would change
because
things for
he would
me.
be endangering the public. Yeah,
Yep.
of course.
And I don't want to get too far off in the weeds on it, but I mean, it's sidebar, so we will anyway. But
Yeah.
but
Do you not understand the format, Michael?
yeah, but
Do I need to do
as
that?
I said this on TCF overtime. Is cocaine, like, of all the drugs you can take if you're suffering from cancer, right? Is cocaine really the one you want to take? I mean, marijuana, yes, of course, I get that. My buddy who wound up dying of cancer in 2022, he got diagnosed in like 2019, and it was very painful. He went through a lot of procedures, and that dude was baked for 3 straight years, the last 3 years of his life, and you know, he was hardly in any pain, and I was like, cool, no problem. I know some people will do like mushrooms. I've even heard that in certain cases, you know, for certain LSD, that, you know, some things I get. Cocaine, I don't. Does it? I don't know. I've never done cocaine, despite rumors to the contrary. I actually never have. Marijuana is as far as I've ever gone with anything, and to me, that would be all I'd need if I had cancer. Is you know, and I did have a little skin cancer on my neck, little carcinoma. So they did the little surgery to remove that, and it you know, because it's right on the neck, it's one of your most sensitive areas on your skin, you know, and hey, you know, I popped a couple of gummies because that hurt, and it was not comfortable for a few days. So I can only imagine an actual very serious cancer. You know, I have no problem with it. I don't have a problem with the guy doing cocaine or whatever he wants to do, if whatever is going to ease his pain and whatever. My only issue, as I mentioned, and I think we can all agree, is when you're driving around, if you're blasted on cocaine or whatever, come on, man, you can't be doing that. Driving on a suspended license, like, again, whatever. I know it's a thing, but if that was his worst crime, other than just doing cocaine, it wouldn't be a big deal. But having it, being high, driving around, that's the problem for me. Now, that said, I still, I don't want to see a guy that's got 4 months to live go to prison. I just don't. I don't want to see it. Home confinement, just keep him in his house on an ankle monitor. You know, let him have his, snow globe house with all his coke and live out the last 120 days of his life, if he even has that long. According to his lawyer, he might not even have that long. So I don't know. That's where I'm at with it.
I feel like, and also the probation thing would be an argument too. I mean, he was told not to do certain things and he did them anyway. And that's another argument you can make.
For me, there has to be some sort of punishment just to keep, quote unquote, the fairness to it. But would I throw the guy in prison? No, not at first. I would try and do like the home confinement without using cocaine. Maybe have a doctor where he has to follow a doctor's orders to a T, kind of, I guess, a probation to it. And
yeah.
And it's
as
a
well as
third
some
drug.
because I would think it didn't seem like he was just selling. He was using that, so, but I think he was also selling it too, which is
I gotta be honest. I'm Team Elmore on this one. I'd throw him in jail. I'd throw him in jail. And the reason is twofold. Number one, he's endangering the community. by selling the stuff, because cocaine is one of those things that's laced with all sorts of bad stuff. It's all in how they cut it and what they cut it with.
Right.
So there is very much the ability for somebody to OD and die, and he's taking somebody out as he goes himself. So I got a problem with that. And then the other thing, I've got a morality issue with it. And again, this is faith-based Dan coming out to play right now.
Yeah.
But
you got the audio again.
Jeez, Louise on a popsicle stick.
There you
How about
There you
now?
go. You're good.
I have no idea why it's doing that. It makes no sense. But thank you for notifying me. TCF on a Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen.
It's technical computer fuckery. That's what TCF stands for.
That is merch. I'm writing it down.
How did you just come up with that off the top of your head?
I don't know. It's
Jeez.
because I'm living in it, Ashley. I'm just as much stuck in it as the rest
I'm
of
just
you.
very impressed by how you come up with these things.
All right, that's written down. That'll probably be a top seller. Lord. My resolution for 26 is to really cut down on my swearing, but today is challenging me. I gotta be honest.
Yeah. Well, I normally don't swear here on Sidebar, but sometimes a well-placed word is where it's at. So
technically, it's not a bad word because you have that eerie at the end.
that's true.
Barbara dares me to make that merch. That merch will be done by the weekend now. All right, so anywho, what was I?
It's his third conviction under 2 years, though.
I know.
Yeah.
Are you really going to
would
let
have done
him?
treatment first. Obviously, that clearly may not have helped because he kept going. So then you kind of do have to get a little tougher with him. Throwing him in jail for the 4 years, I still don't know if that was... If I'd have gone there quite yet. Maybe I'd have tried like the home confinement, house arrest type thing first. Then
The only thing I will say is Judge Elmore got real preachy about his sobriety and all that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, listen. My man's got like 120 days left, if that. He obviously doesn't care, or, he's telling you what you want to hear, but he's doing cocaine, and part of it is he's got a limited time left on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And he's gonna do it. Maybe it helps him. I don't know. Like I said, I really don't. But let's assume that it does. He's gonna do it. Unless you throw him in prison, and I'll tell you this, he probably will still be able to get it in prison. It'll just be a little bit harder to do. But I'm sure there's a Big Joe in prison. The Big Joe has an outlet in prison, I'm sure. A clearance rack. So I'm sure that will happen. So I don't know. To me, is putting him in prison cruel and unusual punishment? I get what you guys are saying, and I would normally agree with you. I'm probably a little bit more harsh than most on some of these cases, but this is one of those where I'm just like, come on, man. Let's try home confinement. Now, if he wants to still venture out and break that, then I guess you have to go to the last resort and put him in the slam for, 60 days or whatever would be left at that point. But
Well, Austin brings up a good point, though. If he was confined to the home, he wouldn't be a danger to the public on the road. I would go for that option too. Then throw him in prison.
just take his car away. Do some.
No. He can still deal from his home.
Right.
Unless they're going to put 24/7 surveillance on him, he can still deal from his home.
He could.
Yeah.
The neighborhood I grew up in, which wasn't the greatest of the greats, but it wasn't the worst of the worst either. But we had this home across the street from us where they were clearly dealing. Right out of the home, people would drive up, they'd walk up to the door, they'd spend about 2 minutes there, they'd get in their car and they'd leave. And this would go on throughout the day.
Yeah,
there was no question what was going on in that home. So, I mean, it doesn't stop him. My biggest issue with this case was the morality end of it. You know, if you're going out of this world, I'm sorry, but there has to be a certain level of dignity and respect for others and for yourself. If you're going to take your last time on this planet and use it in endangering others, you should finish it off in a box, in my opinion, because it's disrespectful not only to those around you but to yourself. That is how you choose to end your life. I don't know.
I get you on that, Dan. I do. I can't argue it. I don't know. There's this little tiny bit of compassion that's just screaming in me that's just like, it's hard for me to just, I don't know. I don't have that very often with some of these cases that we see on TCF, like a lot of the stuff we saw today. I'm like, hey man, I don't care, wood chipper time for some of these people. But, and I'm not even a death penalty person, but when I see the child stuff, I'm always like, hey, feet first, wood chipper, Barbara can throw the switch. But this is one of those, this is what I struggled with. And then it brings up the larger question of, when should we institute compassion? When should we take somebody that's clearly, and we've seen a few other cases that are somewhat similar in Judge Boyd's court, and I think there was one in Judge Stevens' court not that long ago, or maybe several months ago now, I guess. But and it's like, so how many months left to live? I mean, what guidelines should we use?
Yeah, that's a good question, and kind of where I wanted to go next is if we're going to not follow the guidelines, what are the guidelines for that? And should we always have compassion, or should it be a case by case, or
right?
I don't know, because there's some areas in the system where you can make, or you can try to make the compassionate argument where, in my opinion, it would definitely apply, and then in some other places where it should never apply ever. For example, it is a thing where these crimes against children that we see, there is a significant percentage of them that are committed by people with autism.
Yep.
I don't know why, but it's a thing. Should we have more compassion on them because they have autism? Not for that.
Yeah,
I have a soft spot for the autism. You know that, Dan.
I know, but
I do too. But look,
we all do, because we all know somebody that's got it.
Yep.
It's one thing if somebody with autism, causes an accident, or there's a lot of things that somebody with autism might do that you kind of have to go, hey, there's an extenuating circumstance, and the punishment should fit the crime and fit the circumstance a little bit better. The child stuff, though, I'm just like, it's really, and the other thing is, I get it. A lot of these people that commit those kind of crimes have been victimized themselves, and I feel bad for them. I mean, believe it or not, I do. But just because you were victimized doesn't mean you have to victimize other people, because, hey man, I was bullied like crap as a child, daily for many years. Does that give me carte blanche to go to the fries and, somebody goes to grab the last jar of peanut butter and I just punch him in the face? No, you don't get to do that. You can't use everything as an excuse for everything else. There are mitigating circumstances.
Yeah.
Yes. But sometimes, and again, look, serious mental disorders. We see some of these cases sometimes where someone has severe brain trauma, and you can understand why they might miss a court date. You can understand why they might not understand certain things. I get that part, but I mean, yeah. There's a time for compassion. It does have to be case by case.
Yes.
Certain crimes, let's just be honest, certain crimes, I think we were watching Judge Shackelford, she described crimes like, so there's crimes that say, there's two kinds of crimes. There's a crime that, where the government says it's a crime, like driving without a license. And then there are crimes that, that are crimes where there's victims, theft is one of those kinds of crimes,
Moral stuff.
Yeah, crimes of moral turpitude, as they're called.
I call it the 10 Commandments, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean So that's the kind of stuff where I think that those kinds of crimes, the moral crimes, that's where it gets a little bit more serious and where compassion is probably a little bit less.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So maybe that's where the guardrails have to come into place. If we're going to bend the rules, we bend it on the stuff that isn't morality based.
Yep.
But then if we go back to the Elmore situation, if he's out there selling, that's very much morality based.
Yeah,
sure.
so he had...
We would not bend.
It was the selling component for me that got it to where it's like, I could see prison being used in this one, but if it was just the using, that one would be the other options first for me. But because he is technically putting people at risk.
Well,
yeah.
Well, the thing with this case, though, is the pattern of repeated dealings and the repeated offenses, and that's why this got escalated so much, because he actually doubled the guideline range for this case because of his prior offenses.
Yeah.
So if those didn't exist, I don't think it would be half that. He gave them 24 to 96 months, so it would be half that time. So if you think about it, that's not half of that. Wouldn't be. It's a year, but it's not incredibly harsh in my opinion. But it's just because of his history, and that's why he went that route.
Harsh if you only have 4 months to live, though. But
right, I know. I know what you mean, though.
No, I know what you're saying, though. And look, if he was a first-time offender, too, I think a lot of us would probably have sat here and said, hey, man, look.
Yeah.
Dude's on his last leg. It's almost over for him. Just let the guy run out the clock at his house or whatever. He was a multi-time offender. And again, that's why we have these... That's why we have to look at it case by case. There's no way to broad brush this and have a set of guidelines that's one size fits all, because you're never going to have that.
So England just put in the chat, he's not putting people at risk if the people who want drugs... So not putting people at risk. The people who want drugs, and it just scrolled on me.
Are going to find them and buy them.
Want drugs,
want them, they're going to find them and buy them.
Yeah.
Yep.
That part I can see, but the part that I think even I can't argue against, because Dan and I discussed this on TCF Overtime yesterday. The part I can't argue against is he's out driving though while blasted on cocaine.
Right. Yep.
That part, that is putting the public at risk, even if he is living in a fairly rural area. People still live there. If it was his own private property and he's driving around on his private property and he's putting his own life at risk and that's it, who gives a damn? That's why I always say about drugs, I don't care if you fill your body with drugs. It's the minute you put somebody else at risk, like driving drunk, for example, that's the problem. And what sucks about drunk drivers or about people that are on drugs or whatever that drive is usually in an accident, they don't get seriously injured, and everybody else that's sober gets killed or seriously injured.
Totaled or something.
Yeah.
But going back to your point about driving, I forget which of the judges we see says it, but it's a 4,000-pound missile, the vehicle.
Yeah, that's Judge Stevens says that a lot.
Stevens, yeah.
Stevens? Okay. I was going to say Stevens or Simpson.
Yeah.
And even if he was selling out of his house, whoever he's dealing it to, they're at risk too, probably going to be doing it and driving as well. So it's just...
yeah, there's that too. Now, again, I don't care if he's selling to other people, these are people that are going to get it anyway. And I don't, it's one of those things, play stupid games, win stupid prizes kind of thing. Right. You want to go and do cocaine or PCP or whatever, and you're going to pay the price for it. I'm fine with that part. The part that I can't argue against is you go out on, those people have to go out on the roads too. And that's, then, a jackass like me is just out there walking around or driving around, and, that's the person that winds up getting hit is someone like me or you. And, that's the danger to the community part.
Barbara, thank you for the $10. It's very kind of you.
Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
I gotta disagree on the concept of if somebody wants cocaine, they'll get it anyways. I never liked that argument. It doesn't excuse behavior.
Say that, yeah.
Well, because here's the thing. If you go into things with that mentality of it's just going to happen anyways, so who cares, then society breaks down. There has to be standards. There has to be minimum requirements. It just has to be, if we're going to exist as a society, there has to be things that we agree upon. And if we don't agree upon those things, and if we don't enforce those things on which we agree, there is no society. By definition, it is not there. So you can't just say, well, he's dying and people will get it anyway, so whatever. No, I'm sorry, it doesn't work.
Well, but Dan, the reality of it is it kind of reminds me of the war on drugs, right? The war on drugs was the biggest waste of money the government's ever done, right? Why? Because there's no way you're going to stop it. And, some would argue that the government actually, while fighting it on one hand, allowed it in other areas. That's another topic for another day. But it's, marijuana is now legal, whereas it used to be like almost a death sentence if you had a joint on you. And the reason is because I think part of it was people were like, are we really putting people away for 20 years for pot? I mean, come on. But the other thing is, it's so prevalent in society, there was no way we could stop it. There really wasn't, realistically speaking. There was just no way. Not in a country this size. And so, we had to figure it out. Otherwise, our prisons we would have had to spend 80% of our budget on just building prisons to put all the pot smokers and pot dealers in. At some point you have to prioritize in society and say what's important and what isn't. Is some dude smoking a joint more important to put in prison than like a rapist? That's and so we as a society kind of started voting on this stuff and went, well, I guess we'll just legalize weed and we'll focus on other stuff. In Oregon, they're like, hey, we want to do mushrooms? Cool. We'll just go after the murderers, and we'll try to slow that down first before we, go after the mushrooms and the whatever.
Well, and I don't disagree with what you're saying there about priorities and whatnot. But I think where we don't always mesh, me and the rest of the world, is that even in your discussion, what you're talking about and what's kind of happening in the chat a little bit, I'm seeing too, what's at least being implied is that we're talking about government going and fixing the things, government setting the standards, government making the laws that have to be followed and all this kind of stuff. I'm talking more on a people level. If we rely on the government to go and fix things like your war on drugs example, it never works. What were we talking about before the show, Michael? The thing that they want to do here in Arizona, where they want to put a $3.50 tax on your nightly stay at an Airbnb or a Vrbo, and that's supposed to save all of the people who are late on their utility bills. But I did the math, and it comes out to $108 a year per family, which isn't going to fix anything. Yep. So
and I don't think you can use it on utility bills.
Yeah. So, I mean, government does not fix things. I'm sorry, it doesn't. It is the most inefficient body in the world. I don't care what country you're in. It's always the problem. You can't legislate morality either. But there has to be morality. There has to be some societal standards, and it has to come from the people before it comes from the government for it to
I agree with that part.
Yep.
So that's kind of where I'm at with it when I say there has to be some standards.
Sure.
And the guy can't just go selling drugs because people will get it from someplace anyways. Society itself should say, no, that's not okay. We're not going to do that. Not the government. Government will get it wrong every time.
Well, I mean, that's why the people in a lot of these cases have voted, certain ways. In Oregon, the people there have decided, hey, you want to do mushrooms? We don't give a damn. And we've decriminalized other things. Yeah, there's still like civil infractions, but like you have a minor amount of cocaine, it's a civil thing as opposed to like, oh my God, we're putting you in prison for 10 years. Again, this isn't, me necessarily saying, hey, I'm cool with Big Joe's drug hut. Okay. I'm not saying I'm cool with it. I'm just saying it's there. I understand. And I'm cool with, let's shut it down when the dude is, putting out PCP and all this other stuff. However, I also understand realistically that we're never going to shut down all of Big Joe's drug huts. We're going to, that's the thing about society is if we really want to stop this, it goes to a much broader point, Dan, and actually it ties into what you're saying, and that is we, the people, have to kind of do it ourselves and have better education, raise better families, be better people, better role models, have more education. And if we do that, there's a much lesser chance that people are going to turn to PCP and all this stuff. Yeah, of course, it's still going to be there. You're never going to get rid of it in human society, ever, period. Yep. But you can certainly curtail. Look, when I was a kid, smoking was like everywhere, okay? Cigarette smoke was everywhere. Teenagers were smoking more than ever. Yep. But in the last 40 years, it's dropped off considerably. Why? Because, and I know people vape and stuff, that's kind of, but even that's dropped. And the reason is because people have started to understand, it's pretty gross. It's not cool. It's not exciting. It's not anything great. It's sort of dropped off kind of on its own because of education, because of society. We might be able to argue that maybe it's been partially replaced by marijuana, which isn't exactly, better.
Yeah, we don't need to argue that. It just has been, I think.
Right? I mean, it's better, but still not really great. But again, at least, there's like, 70 carcinogens that you're putting in your body or something with cigarettes. So, at least we've done that. So there's an example of how society can make it better. I know the Surgeon General put warnings on it and we taxed it to hell, but people that wanted to smoke still smoked. It's just fewer people that want to smoke are now smoking.
Because they're now knowledgeable about the effects of smoking and don't want to do that.
Well, and some of them are dead as well. So that
there
is also that.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. So a couple things going on in the chat. First of all, Barbara is lobbying for Charles to join the TCF panelist lineup here for Sidebar. Charles, if you're interested, you need to email me and we can discuss it. But Charles also put in here, people get it wrong even without the government's help. People are giant hypocrites and think it's okay for them to drink 6 beers and watch football, but think it's wrong for you to have a joint. Agreed in principle, but here's my problem, Charles. What is the government? Who runs it? It's people.
Yep.
And not only is it people, it's often the worst of people. Those who are on the biggest power trips and use government to enrich themselves and control others. So again, is it the best thing to run to them for the answer? I'm a no.
Yep.
But that's just me.
I think there are some people in government that really want to do good things. I think there's people that really want to help, especially on local levels, you know.
Yep.
And the system tends to eat them up.
Yeah, that's the problem is a lot of these people, they run, they have the best intentions, they get to Washington, and what happens when they put their best intentions on the table, they just get ignored.
Yep.
Because they're like, dude, you don't know how it works here. Let me show you how it works. And they either turn into a corrupt piece of crap, or
they
don't last because you know all the money that's spent on these on the R's and D's, they'll push you right on out the door if you're not willing to play ball with them. For the most part.
Charles asks, what's the alternative? The alternative in my mind, Charles, is smaller communities that build culture. And they build a cohesion.
Yep.
The problem is we're trying to regulate everything from such a large scale where it makes corruption super easy. It's not localized to the beliefs and needs of that community. And that's where we have a problem.
Yep.
I mean, if even if it was just at the state level, let's say, okay, like Colorado has shrooms. If they want to have shrooms, whatever. That's Colorado's thing. Other places have said no. Florida, no, we're not going to do that. We're not doing marijuana down there either. But if that's what that at least more local community, and I'd like to see it broken down even closer. I think it should be like city and county level for almost everything.
And those
because that's where they understand the true needs and the true beliefs of the people that live there.
Yeah, and those that have the
problem
shrooms,
is.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just to finish up. I was just going to say the problem is when you have government control from such a high level where they don't really see what's going on locally and they don't see what the belief is locally. It doesn't work. It just goes to corruption. Yeah. Go ahead, Ashley. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just telling about the shrooms. Like, even the states, I think we've seen a couple of states that do allow shrooms, but not for them to be impaired when driving and stuff like that. So there are limitations with those states as well. Even though they do accept shrooms, you can't be impaired on shrooms, if that makes sense. So it kind of goes back to that point of being responsible on the road and being not intoxicated in any form on the road type thing. But
and to your point, I wanted to make. And to the point, Charles, by the way, I for me anyway, I don't see the difference between someone going home after work, having a drink, or smoking a joint. To me, it does not make a difference to me. I think it's fine by me. That what you do in the privacy of your home, so long as you're not getting out on the road, I could not possibly care less. That is your business. That's between you and your family or yourself, your conscience, whatever you want to do. No judgment from me.
And you know what? If that's what the local community agreed upon, then cool. Yeah. But, then we go up to like Utah, for example, which, I have a personal beef with right now. But,
I wonder why.
I know. But, they're much stricter with things up there, but that's what they want to do. So let them, because that is the community values. That's what they tend to agree upon.
I make fun of them, but but they can do what they want to do.
Yeah,
just whatever you do, don't try to spend a night there. because it will end in tragedy. You have to understand that. That's my problem with Utah.
Actually, I have spent a night in Utah once. I don't know if I'll do it again, but I have done it.
Yeah.
Just once. Up there by where was that? Was that Penguich? So that's Michelle and I and the girls. We were up there once, and yeah. Yep.
Anyways,
can't get beer on Sundays, so
nope. But you know what?
And
it, you know, to go to that idea of locality, when I spent the first part of my life in Michigan, and a decent amount of that time in Ottawa County, which is along the Lake Michigan shoreline. Ottawa County, while the rest of the state you could buy liquor on Sunday, Ottawa County was specifically a dry county on Sundays. But it was a Dutch Christian Reformed community. That was the standard that they set, and everybody was cool with it. So again, you handle something on a local level, everybody agrees, everybody's happy. It's just much cleaner than trying to handle it from way up above. Yep. But maybe that's just me. And what does that have to do with compassion regarding sentencing? Nothing. But that's the beauty of Sidebar. We get off on tangents. It's in the name.
Charles says that Salt Lake City has better nightlife than Seattle. And you know what? I'd actually believe that because, look, the more conservative people say they are, the more wild that, clubs and stuff will get. Arizona used to be much more conservative than it is. And I'll tell you, as someone that went to clubs now and then back in the late 90s, early 2000s, yeah, there's crazy stuff that went on. Back in the day where, the last call was at 12:30. I mean, people complained about this state because we shut everything down. The alcohol sales were done at 1 a.m. Now that's extended to 2 as of like 20-some years ago. But yeah, I mean, it was wild here. I can only imagine Salt Lake City, must have been. So Charles has a lot of stories as a nightclub promoter. I bet. I bet. Oh, Dan, look out. You got the audio again. I just caught it right at the start this time. I know. There
Fix
you go.
initiated.
Okay.
I don't get it. It's such a weird day. No, I was going to say I don't. Yeah, I don't know what the LDS equivalent to Rumspringa is, but undoubtedly that's what happens in the nightclubs there.
Yeah. No, it's some of those places. I bet just like the 5 people that live in Montana, I'm sure it gets wild there too.
Hey, we hope to raise that number to 8 within the next couple of years. There you go. We're gonna make that happen.
Yeah.
And as long as people like Barbara keep super chatting, we'll get there.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the goal. All right. So what have we got left? We got about 10 minutes left. Do you want to get back on topic or do you want to
I apologize. Yes.
Where do we go?
Wait,
we went on sidebar.
There was.
Wait, sidebar. Hold on. Let me see. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Let me actually try to reel it in with this a little bit just to bring it back, because I had data from other states and how they handle sentencing guidelines. So because part of the question, honestly, is just to get back on topic. We're talking about if judges should go outside the guidelines and show compassion, but there's the question of can they? Because that's not always the case. One of the things I see so often in the chats across the channel here is people complaining about why is a judge doing this? Why did the judge sentence them this many years or fine them this much? Or why didn't the judge give more? Why did the judge give this guy bail? All this kind of things. But what people don't realize is that the legislatures in so many states have tied these judges' hands in so many ways. So that has to be part of the equation as well. So just a few samples. I pulled Minnesota because, there's stuff going on there right now. So knowing what goes on in Minnesota is probably good. And there, the sentence guidelines are presumptive. So straying is only allowed when a judge identifies a substantial and compelling reason. So they have to have a reasoning for it. In Washington, the standard range is the baseline, and going outside of that, which they define as an exceptional sentence, requires some kind of finding on the part of the judge. So if the sentencing guideline is like a maximum of 20 years and the judge wants to give him 30, the judge has to put on record some kind of finding as to why that should be, which I'm sure would later be challenged.
Yep.
North Carolina is similar. They require written findings if they're going to depart from the sentencing guidelines. But in Washington, it's only if you stray above the guidelines. In North Carolina, it's both ways. Florida has a hard floor on their guidelines. So if the guideline is 10 to 30, there's no way you're going below 10. It just can't happen. Kansas requires substantial and compelling reasons. So again, there has to be something put on the record. Michigan, we already talked about. In Pennsylvania, I pulled for Barbara. Deviations are permitted, but the court must put its reasons on the record, and failure to do so can actually trigger remand. So there you go.
Wow.
So some places there's nothing a judge can do. Other places they have to have a compelling reason that if they're going to put it on the record and they want to keep their career, it's going to have to be something that's strong enough that they feel it's not going to be overturned in an appeal.
Dan, what was the sentencing guideline for Michigan again?
So in Michigan, because of a Michigan Supreme Court ruling, which was People versus Lockridge in 2015, it moved mandatory guidelines into the advisory only category.
Oh, I see. Okay, got it.
So there isn't really a mandatory guideline anymore.
Right. So that's why he could double the guideline if he wanted to. Got it. Okay.
So, I think that's part of the calculus here, is that you have to consider what the judge is able to do. And that's something that's really missing in the viewership on this channel. Not everybody, of course, but in a lot of them, is that they don't realize that the judge is just not got unlimited abilities to do whatever they want.
Yes.
Right. And sometimes, we talk about, and we've certainly talked about this on Sidebar, about bond before. And there are some states where you're not allowed to issue no bond, basically. So that's why in some of those states, what they do is they'll set a bond that's so high that it's almost impossible for someone to actually make it. That's why you'll see like $2 million bond or whatever.
Yep.
And that's sort of a workaround to the whole, you can't have no bond. Now, Florida allows for no bond. I believe Arizona allows for no bond, I think. But a lot of states, don't do that. So, that's another one of those weird things. It's just like fines, in Texas, the maximum fine on first degree felony is $10,000. Whereas in Arizona, I believe that maximum fine is like $150,000. So, there's a lot of weird, discrepancies and a lot of weirdness between, among the states. And that's why whenever we watch these judges, now, of course, within those guidelines, some judges and we've talked about this too a lot. They've made interesting decisions. The punishment range is, let's say, 2 to 10 years, and one judge will give this crime 4, and the other will do 2, and another does 10. And there's certainly there's a little bit of an arbitrary deal there, but a judge will, consider previous criminal history and remorse. And, frankly, someone gets a little bit mouthy at sentencing. I mean, we've seen Judge West say, I can't believe you're talking to me like this. I'm the judge that's about to hand down a sentence.
Yep.
Maybe you reconsider that, and certainly that's something that can happen too.
To answer your question, Michael, about the Arizona judges, yes, they can withhold bond or deny bond for serious crimes such as capital offenses or SA, or if the defendant is deemed a significant flight risk or danger to the community.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah, I seem to remember that there was circumstance you could have no bond, but it's not for everything. Florida seemes to be able to just throw no bond around like it's candy, but
well, no, there are specific things like fishing violations.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yes, and hunting and yes,
yeah.
Remember, Florida is the land of the Surfside Sharks and the Arnold Marlins.
Yes,
fish for mascots.
I just
can't
believe Michigan.
Where I'm from.
I can't believe Michigan doesn't have any mandatory guidelines, though. I can't get over that thought.
Well, no, there are like mandatory sentences.
Yeah.
The guidelines. It's the guidelines where if a certain level of felony had a guideline of like 10 to 20, that guideline is now an advisory. It's not a mandatory.
Right.
But if it's a first degree murder in Michigan is life without parole. It's just that's written in the code.
Yep.
Yeah.
At that point, it's not a guideline. It's a no choice. This is what the sentence has to be.
Okay.
So there are some mandatories.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
So like if you go and do a murder, you're not going to get probation because the judge likes you. It's just not even an option.
Michigan also has lifetime probation.
Yes. And I get up in arms about 10-year probation.
I know.
Nobody's going to make it a lifetime.
Yeah.
They're going to violate on their
like
deathbed if need be, but they're going to violate.
Thing. Yeah, that shouldn't be a state thing. That's weird. Okay, gotcha.
I don't know. Well, it's pure Michigan.
Yeah, not only that, but I mean, I know that you can get off in some of these states. You can get off of probation or deferred up to half or even 2/3 of the time, or early. Like for example, if you get 10 years probation, you can get off of that in 3 1/3.
Yep.
In Texas, for example, if you complete all this stuff and if the judge says so, and so sometimes it doesn't go the full 10 years. But yeah, to your point, I find it hard to believe that anybody can make it a full 10 years. I mean, even if you were, just screwed up and now you're going to try and play it on the straight and narrow. I mean, all it takes is just to accidentally do something, like miss a call or something, and boom, you're revoked.
Yep. I don't know. That's a whole other discussion that's never made sense to me. But
maybe
Barbara,
don't commit
5 more.
Oh, thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara.
Maybe don't commit those crimes. I mean, then you wouldn't have to worry about the 10-year probation. I mean, that's a pro tip, maybe a life hack there.
Yeah, if you know what all the crimes are, because then we have the whole argument about how many
laws there are.
Yep.
You thought it was safe to throw a snowball in Wisconsin, but you were mistaken.
You know as well as I do that we've all committed some kind of a felony right here on this broadcast tonight.
I'm sure.
Yeah, don't know what it is, but somebody will find it.
There's all sorts of them going on. Hey, well, speaking ill of the government, that's pretty soon. It's practically, we're practically there. Oh, you speak ill of government. Don't worry about. We're not throwing you in prison. No, we're executing you instead.
I think I mentioned this off stage at some point this past week or two, but I've told you guys there's a couple of books that I make semi-annual pilgrimages through. One of them is The Creature from Jekyll Island, because it talks about the Federal Reserve System, and I pull something new out of it every time. The other that I'm going through right now is George Orwell's 1984.
Yep.
And I pull something new out of that every time, and I go, oh, that applies right in this very moment. And I'm pulling more out of it this time than I ever have.
Brave New World.
Brave New World's a good one. Yeah.
Maybe watch Minority Report. We always think, that's just silly fiction and these silly movies and silly books, and sometimes life imitates art. And that's kind of that's the scary place where we're at.
Some of the
and
dystopian
then art becomes
books.
And then art becomes the instruction manual.
Yeah, and some of the dystopian books are really quite, kind of hit home a little bit. It has some truth to it of some sort. So,
but I don't know which direction we're moving in, and I guess we finish with this because our hour's up already. But I'm not sure in the end if we're treading down the road of Brave New World 1984 kind of thing, or if we're going towards Idiocracy. I could make an argument for both. And I don't know which one it's going to be. But that having been said, Austin, do you have any final thoughts before we leave this discussion behind for the night?
I'm sure we've all done, you're talking about committing a crime tonight, some sort of conspiracy.
Probably. Conspiracy to get super chats or something like that. That's probably a YouTube violation, at the very least. Ashley?
I have a lot of thoughts, but my main thought is that even though you're ill, don't think you would get off on a light sentence. It doesn't always work that way, especially if you're a repeat offender. So, yeah, I guess I would leave people with that thought.
It's a fair thought. Miguel?
Check all of your connections, your wires. I don't know.
F off. I'm doing the best I can here.
Not you, Dave. I'm looking over here. I have 100 wires, and I'm like tangled up in them right now. And I'm thinking I'm gonna have another incident, before the show is over.
Oh my goodness.
Because my mic cable came out, during the show. So we've all had. It's been a day. My final thought, I guess, is let's try to get out of this Tuesday alive. Let's do that.
Yeah, I think my final thoughts are, since my audio keeps crapping out, I'm going to get on Amazon as soon as this is over and order some Sapaza sound. Sapaza sound fixes crap audio every time.
How do you insert that? All right.
Right up the old XLR port.
Of course. That's exactly what I was thinking.
All right. On that note, we'll see you tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific, a half an hour early for channel members, assuming Ellie doesn't pull the plug again. And we'll be back here Thursday, 8 p.m.
And thank you
East,
for
5
those
Pacific.
are here.
Yes, thank you so much. This has been fun. One of our better discussions, I think.
Really? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think so. All right. Take care. God bless everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Have a good night, y'all.